welcome back to Rating the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad. In this episode, we're going to be exploring number 97 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the 100 Greatest Love Stories of All Time.
All right, and number 97 is Grease. Released 1978, directed by Randall Kistler, starring John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John, and Stockard Channing.
Okay, so the synopsis for this movie musical is as follows. Greaser Danny Zuko, played by John Travolta, and Australian transfer student Sandy Olsen, played by Olivia Newton-John, meet over the summer and have a fling. They expect to never see each other again. She ends up staying and going to the same school as him, Rydell High. Danny takes his place as the leader of the T-Birds. Sandy befriends Frenchie, a member of the Pink Ladies. Danny, playing up his bad boy image, sends Sandy running away. Sandy starts dating Tom, and Danny turns to running track to impress her. Eventually, Danny and Sandy get back together and attend the National Bandstand Dance. But Sandy leaves brokenhearted when Danny's ex, Cha-Cha, cuts in to win the dance with Danny. Danny tries to make it up to Sandy, but messes up again, trying to force himself on her at the drive-in. Danny is forced to be the driver in a race against rival Scorpions. He wins, and Sandy, still in love with him, watches from a distance. On the last day of school, Danny shows up in his leather jacket, and Sandy, dressed in black leather. They declare their love for each other and ride off into the sunset.
All right. Well, this movie kind of has a special place in my heart. I think every girl of my generation has watched this movie and could probably quote lines, songs. I mean, is it rewatchable? Yes. Is it a classic? Yes. Is it got a banging soundtrack? Yes. Like, it's all got all these amazing things that have lasted throughout the years, standed the test of time, except there are some moments that...
Yeah. Does it have issues?
Yes, it does.
So
why don't we talk about what you liked about the movie?
Okay, so going into this, I'll just state this very clearly. I don't have a problem with musicals. What I do tend to have a problem with is movie musicals. I personally, it's my personal opinion, I don't feel musicals work well on film. I think they work really well on stage. I've seen a lot of them, a lot more than most people think that I have. Mm-hmm. Hint. But I think it works on a stage for a number of reasons. One, it's pure and it's live, so you can't edit away dance sequences and stuff like that. Everyone that's in a musical that's on stage has to be on point, doing everything perfectly. With a movie musical, you can cheat a little bit. You can do a couple things. One, you can use editing to make people look like they can dance. You can put in someone else's voice for singing. There's another musical, or
there's a lot of musicals where this happens.
There's one that's coming up where they even edited the voice of someone who is primarily known as a singer.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's just flat out cheating. So it doesn't, a lot of the times, movie musicals don't work for me. This one does. So another thing that often happens that I have a problem with is when you have a movie musical or any musical in general, the songs themselves, they have to carry the story forward.
Which this totally does.
This absolutely does. They're put in the right spots, and it tells the story and it carries it forward, and there's not too much of it. That's another thing that some musicals can do, is there are too many musical numbers.
Yeah.
So you have to have time in between the musical numbers to kind of, immerse yourself in the story a little bit, learn about the characters. You can't just learn about them through song.
Yes.
It doesn't work. You're not going to get any kind of emotional traction.
Correct.
If that's all that they do. I think that this one does that really well.
Mm-hmm.
The chemistry of John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John is off the charts. I mean, it's no wonder that these two have been like extremely close friends ever since meeting on the set of this movie. To this day, they're like really, really great friends. That the care and love that these two clearly have for each other in real life has definitely carries forward in this movie. You buy that these two fell for each other over the course of a summer, and then everything that subsequently happens after that. So My issues with it tend to be in, if you really listen to the lyrics on a couple of these songs, a little problematic.
Yeah, a little bit. And also the whole subject matter. When he's at the when they're at the drive-in, he does try to force himself on her. He uses some excuse of her like saying something or whatever, and he like tries to, and she leaves, and he's like stranded at the drive-in, branded a fool. It's like, we shouldn't be feeling sad for you.
Yeah.
Because you just totally tried to force yourself on somebody.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, I think, again, we're going to see this a lot in these movies that we're rewatching, that there's going to be problems with it. Yeah. There's also, I mean, I love this movie. I grew up with this movie. I've watched it several times, had the soundtrack, like, I've lived Grease, okay? And, but yeah, I can admit that there's problems with it. There's the whole image aspect of it. He's trying to change himself for her. She changes herself for him.
Which is fine. That's an okay premise, but the manner in which she's changing herself is completely, like, he's changing himself as a better person. She's changing herself to seem more slutty or whatever because she thinks that's what he likes, and it's like, that's just, he should like her for who she is. It shouldn't be about whether she's promiscuous or whatever. That's just,
like, basically the message of the story is saying, have sex with the guy that you're interested in, because then they'll really like you.
Otherwise he'll be interested in someone else.
Yes,
great message.
That's the whole thing.
Great message movie. And then, like, like the scene when they're singing, the guys are singing in the...
Did she put out?
Did she put up a fight? It's like, come on, man. Like, you're really, you're really going to just, really accentuate rape culture in this.
Yeah.
The other issue I have is, as great as the performers are, they're way too old.
Oh, yeah. They're a little old.
Stockard Channing, I think, was 32 years old when they filmed this movie.
But let me tell you right now, the effect that Rizzo had on me as a young girl is just like the same effect that Princess Leia had on me. She was a tough lady. She knew what she wanted, and she wasn't afraid to show it. And that had a big influence on me. I was always walking around pretending I was Rizzo and saying, he sounds like a drag. Like, I literally would do that, like, all the time. And so this movie means a lot to me. And yes, there are problems, but it's enjoyable. The music is great, outstanding.
Yeah, and it's a mix of you've got I like to call them like musical bits, like they're clearly just for that. And then you also have a couple of songs that are clearly like pop culture kinds of songs. Like Frankie Valli does a song in this, which is not, he does it like as a
beauty school dropout.
Yeah, he does it as like part of like another character's kind of dream sequence, so that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
The music is appropriate to the era, so this takes place in the 50s, and all the music is kind of evocative of the 50s for the most part.
So they also have music from the like at the like prom or whatever it was.
So they've got
the bandstand,
diegetic music during the bandstand where they're playing stuff from
where Shana Na 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 is playing.
Yes.
As the band.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So again, for me to really like kind of suspend my disbelief for a movie musical, it has to be truly excellent. There are a couple on this list that we're going to explore later, which I do think are truly excellent. There's at least one that outside of this one that we've discussed, which I don't think is truly excellent at all. So again, I think it's a pretty good movie. I think I agree it's rewatchable. It's got some problems. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing this. I know it's kind of blasphemy because you consider it such a classic, of redoing this and maybe updating some of the problematic songs.
They did remake it.
Well, in Grease 2, I mean.
No, they remade it. They did it on TV.
I'm talking about an actual production and not these like cheesy like live performances that they do on TV, which are essentially like watching a stage play. That's not
True.
that's not a remake of a movie.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg just recently remade West Side Story.
Which was great.
It's great, and it addresses a number of the problems that occur with West Side Story, which we won't get into here because guess what? West Side Story's on the list, so we'll be discussing it at a later point. But just in general, I think this is one that's really due for an update. I think they missed a real opportunity when like guys like Zac Efron and all that whole group, when they were literally in high school doing High School Musical. You had a chance to have them be in Grease, age appropriate, and they could all do the parts.
That's very true. Yeah.
So, missed a chance, but maybe like the next group of Nickelodeon stars or whatever.
Who knows? And honestly, like, if it doesn't get remade, I'm not going to be devastated.
Yeah.
This one's a classic. It's rewatchable. I'm sure there's people my age showing this movie to their children. And if it doesn't get remade, it doesn't. That just leaves room for newer talent to make, better movies, right? Yep. So, but this movie really stands the test of time. The music stands the test of time. So,
Didn't hate it.
Yeah. Didn't hate it. Great.
All right, so my score on this was a 66.
What was my score as?
Jerry's is a 72.
72, of course.
And the list score is 69.
All right.
So, until next time, I'm Brad.
I'm Jerry, and we're rating the list.